it actually does not make sense to pay off low interest debt. Instead, it makes more sense to take the extra money that you guys have and put it towards investments that can grow your wealth over time. What's up, you guys? My name is Michael Elefante, and in this video, we're going to discuss why it can actually be harmful financially to pay off debt early. You often hear people such as Dave Ramsey and other people throughout society, or even financial advisors, say get out of debt as soon as possible or pay off your house as soon as possible so you can be debt free.
And get these debts cleaned up as fast as possible.
Now, while it sounds really nice and honestly is comforting to know that you're debt free, leveraging debt in a good way can actually help you financially over the long term. This is actually what the wealthy and the rich do. They actually leverage debt to make investments that can actually produce cash flow, whether it's in real estate or the stock market, and they do not tend to pay off their homes or their car payments early. Simple example, on a $300,000 house, let's say you put 20% down on that property, so that would be $60,000. And let's say you have a 3% fixed interest rate over the course of a 30-year term. If you guys look at an amortization schedule, you will effectively pay a total of $124,455.17 in interest to the bank over the course of that 30 years. So if you had the cash to pay that house off early, let's say instead of taking on the loan, you had the money to buy it cash, you could effectively save yourself that much money, $124,000 and change, by not taking on debt. It sounds great, right? But let's back this up a second.
Put it in reverse, Terry. Put it in reverse. Oh, Lord.
First of all, you guys are probably thinking, Michael, you're crazy. Why wouldn't I want to save over $124,000 over the course of 30 years by paying off the principal balance early? For starters, there's a little thing known as inflation. And ever since the United States came off the gold standard in 1971, the Federal Reserve and the federal government has essentially become the printing press for new dollars. So why this matters for you guys, if they're printing new money every single day, essentially, of every single year, this causes inflation. And as inflation occurs, it actually reduces the buying power of the actual dollars that you guys have in your savings account or stashed under your mattress. If you guys actually go online and look up the CPI, which stands for Consumer Price Index, which measures the rate of inflation across all sorts of consumer goods and other factors, you will see in the trailing 12 months, we have some extremely and concerning inflation rates. The CPI over the last 12 months measures inflation has risen at a 5.4% rate. Even if this isn't to continue at the 5.4% rate, let's just say it continues at around a 3% clip year over year of inflation. If you guys have a 3% interest rate locked into your mortgage, it is essentially borrowing money for free.
That's an aha moment for me.
That's an aha.
I didn't think about that.
That's what it is.
Now, I certainly agree with you guys to some extent. Some debt is considered bad debt. So what I consider bad debt is high interest debt, things like credit card debt, where interest rates on, unpaid balances can be, astronomically high. But paying something off like your mortgage off early, or even student debt, or sometimes even your car debt, depending on what interest rate you have, can actually be detrimental to building long-term wealth. Let's look at this in a deeper example. Let's assume you had a wad of cash saved up. So instead of putting 20% down or $60,000 on a $300,000 house, let's say you had $300,000 saved up and you wanted to buy the house cash. It sounds like a great idea, right? Because if you buy it cash, you're essentially saving over $124,000 of interest going to the bank over a 30-year period. Sounds like a great deal, right? But let's hold on a second, because what if we put $60,000 down on the house and took that other $240,000 and invested it into something like rental properties or the stock market? So let's dive into a simple compound interest calculator to see what that money could turn into over the course of 30 years. So if you invested that $240,000 into, let's say, the stock market or rental properties that provide you a steady rate of return of 8% compounded annually, that would leave you guys with a total amount of $2,415,037.65 at the end of 30 years. And that's assuming you only invest that lump sum year one and don't invest a single dollar over the next 29 years. So you could save $124,000 thinking about not being in debt, right? You're saving that much in interest payments. Or you put that money to work for you and you could turn that $240,000 into $2.4 million or more 30 years from now. So I know it sounds crazy when you first think about it, but when you think about it logically like this and break down the numbers, it actually does not make sense to pay off low interest debt. Instead, it makes more sense to take the extra money that you guys have and put it towards investments that can grow your wealth over time. And this is how the wealthy look at money and treat their investments. And same with debt. They actually leverage good debt to make more investments that can produce cash flowing assets or assets that grow drastically over the course of time, that build their net worth. One of the most common questions I get asked about my real estate investments, which are Airbnb properties, is, oh, but you must be millions of dollars in debt in order to have all these properties. And yeah, we are in quite a bit of debt, but it's good debt because technically it's leveraging debt at a very low interest rate. Most of our interest rates on our properties are between 3 and 4% in order to acquire a cash flowing asset. Now, this is amazing because not only are we reaping the benefits of cash flow, meaning the revenue we collect from the renters or tenants in our properties exceeds our mortgage and operating expenses. Whatever's left is ours to take home. That is cash in our pocket. But the guests or tenants are effectively paying the loan off for us, building our equity position in that asset. And the beautiful thing about leverage in real estate is you can leverage other people's money or the bank's money to acquire an asset, and you reap 100% of that appreciation over the course of time. So the way I look at it is, yeah, we could pay off these houses fairly quickly with the cash flow that we're generating, and that would save us some money, just like in the prior examples we talked about. Or we can take the cash flow, reinvest it into new properties or into the stock market that could produce returns 8% like in our example, or even higher like we're seeing with Airbnb properties producing a 25% plus cash on cash return. So I know it feels really weird or strange and uncomfortable taking on debt, but sometimes taking on low interest debt can actually help you guys build your wealth over time because you can take the extra money you have and put it to good use into investments that are going to pay you a much higher rate of return than just paying off that low interest debt sooner. One last thought I will leave with you guys today, and this is a thought that completely changed my mindset with debt, is imagine investing money into, let's say, a rental property that produces $1,000 a month in cash flow. Now, the mindset of letting your assets pay your liabilities changed my life. So having a cash flowing asset or multiple cash flowing assets that you take that cash flow that essentially pays for all the liabilities in your life. You can have one rental property that pays for your own mortgage. You can have another rental property that effectively pays for, your car payments every single month, one that pays for your student loans, and so on. That's how people become financially free, by making investments that produce monthly cash flow instead of paying off debt sooner rather than later. Make sure to drop your questions and comments below. I love hearing from you guys. And please, if you found any value in this video, throw me a like below and consider subscribing to follow along for future content. I'll see you guys again soon.